And we're live. Welcome back, Reg. It. Woo, rough weekend, boys and girls. Rough weekend. So I left off Friday night. We were trying out the rad sport, seeing how that was going to fit, and all that other fun goodies. All the sheet metal going on. Trial fit the hood. That all went really good. We got some markings for where our rad support was going to go, and also double checking and seeing where our front wheel axle center line was going to be, because we knew it was different than the original 47 frame, obviously. So yeah, we got all that marked out. That went fine. I proceeded to, you can see, got the front cross member, the factory cross member, and I got a piece of 2x3 in there, which is all we really need, because it ended up being smack on, basically about we're about 1.5 inches above the bottom of the cross member. Pure luck on that part. So anyway, so we just gonna show you what we pulled out. We hacked out the original front cross member, pretty beefy, quite the drop on the 47. It's going to be replaced with a flat style Model A cross member. All right, so we got that from Welder Series here in Ontario. Great guys down there. CW is one of the best welders I've seen. I feel bad about my welding every time I get something from him that he welded. Great guy. So we did that in preparation for getting the transmission to slide in place. I also removed the original transmission member. Okay, I basically did the same thing with all the other brackets. Just cut off the heads of the rivets, popped it through, grind them through, and anyways, so I'm going to hang on to this. We might be able to utilize this later, not on this build, and maybe on another one. Yeah, so that's the good news. If anyone's following along on Facebook, and you should, because as we said, document anything that we run into as we're going along, in the interest of keeping things fluid and going. So we ran into a pretty large problem with regards to the bell housing. So I'm just going to grab the adapter bell housing. I'll show you roughing it. So well, this is our nice cast piece that we're using to make our nail head to our Super T10. I think that one's out of a 76 vet, I believe. Remember the numbers correctly. So anyway, so this looked all great, bolted on fine on the test run when we were using the lightweight flywheel. But because that one had some damage on it, we decided to flip to the original one, and we had it resurfaced, and I had it drilled and tapped while I was there for the clutch we're going to use, which was great. Bolted everything on, and when we mocked up to make sure everything looked good, we used the lightweight one. It was about a good probably 5/8 of an inch thicker, the original one, than the lightweight one, which meant when this got mounted, you see that nice little ring that I drew in there? Yeah, that's where the flywheel was contacting this bell housing. So a few options, none of them good. Basically, I looked at, okay, well, maybe I can machine that flywheel, get it to where it needs to be. No, maybe way too thin. It was going to get into the meat and potato of the structure of that flywheel. So the other thing we looked at doing was maybe putting a chamfer on the flywheel to match this. By the time I did that, we would have got into where the flywheel was drilled, because it's a weighted flywheel. So that would have thrown the motor out of balance, and also not good. So at that point, I kind of sat in my chair and I thought we were done. I was looking at it. So anyways, had some great people reach out to me on Facebook Messenger, some private messages here and there, throwing some good ideas around, really flesh out. So what I decided to do, basically, wait, I'll back up before I tell you what I decided to do. Also, while I had that there, basically I mocked it up, put it together, and the transmission would only go in, and it was sticking out, I believe, about around 3/8 to 7/16 of an inch before it would fit flush. So I thought, hey, while I'm here, I'll slide the transmission in and see how the input shaft goes into the throwout bearing that we had made up. And lo and behold, it bottomed out before it even made it with the surface here, about the same distance. So anyways, there's some pictures on Facebook. It basically shows what the problem was. So solution, decided that, well, if we can't do it that way, what we'll do is where the motor is here, we will space out this. So that got me into searching for some material last night, and I came up with a Zippo in Muskoka after 5 o'clock anywhere around us. So anyway, so I had an old engine stand that I hate because it always flexes and doesn't work very good. So I pilfered it for some parts. Basically, I was looking for a 1/2-inch flat stock. Piece of 2x2 would have been great because then I could have cut it out with the plasma cutter and went at it. But anyways, long story short, we've all seen these on an engine hoist, or sorry, engine stand. Well, this is my crappy one, but it happened to be a 1/2-inch plate. So I got some pictures I'll post on Facebook. Basically, I laid it down all the way around, made the ring to fit where I needed to be, cut it, drilled it, welded it. Long story short, we fabbed up a spacer plate, which is the thickness 1/2 inch. So I haven't tried it all together yet. Just got it done a little while ago. Got the spacer plate, got the bell housing. We've got everything going here. We're going to see if my measurements are worth a damn. And we're going to start seeing if we can assemble this clutch assembly with the transmission and the bell housing. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bell housing on with the spacer. See how that looks. And I'm going to slide the transmission in, have a peek through the inspection hole to see if our transmission will bolt up without bottoming out in the pilot bearing. If it I actually can move it in a little bit more, because it's actually the bushing that we made has some adjustment in it. It's kind of thinking ahead to this part. So I'm going to adjust the camera. We're going to be working on the floor. Basically, bell housing and adapter plate together, slide the transmission in, check that out. If that looks okay, put the pressure plate, flywheel, pressure plate and just together. Get the fork into the housing and see if we can get that mated together. If that goes well, then that means we can put the engine in tomorrow. That's exciting. We're only, I don't know, 4 days behind on that one. Yeah, so that's the trials and tribulations of this weekend's festivities. So we've got the front rad sport cross member in. I've just tacked it. We're going to get everything mocked up and get it going. I can just fully weld it from there. Another thing I can just show you here. Just going to show you one more thing. So up here, thinking ahead to the motor, the front cross member for the axle. So that's our center line here, and you can see it ends up being right on one of the holes. That channel wants to sit in here. Obviously, I want to have that with as much weld and penetration as I can, because this is what's holding the front end of the car together. So anyways, I just grabbed some piece of 2x3. Here we go. So get it this way. Got a piece of 2x3 channel. Cut it what I needed to be, which was, sorry, that big. Split it. This is going to get welded in here, right there, so that we can basically cover all that hole. And then we're going to cut that bit, go in there, and be fully welded all the way around. So we just got some better penetration. That might be that plate there, but whatever. So anyways, that's the prep work for front suspension. Coming soon. All right, I'm going to adjust our camera angle, and here we go. Let's see if this works out. There she is. There you go. You can see what's going on here. So, bell housing. It's better if it's going on the right way. As you can see, it's has not been trimmed and made all pretty. This was quite the adventure as it was. So the time schedule. I don't have time for you today. Ready to get her done. Get her done mode. Grab their own bowl. I mentioned this could be short and sweet. This is literally the first time I put this together after aching up the plate, so. I gotta tell you, I got tools everywhere after this weekend's thrash. That's never fun. Good. Okay, one bad bolt to replace this bolt. Okay, so that's step one. Now for some heavy lifting. These are the transmission bolts, which hold the transmission in. So again, this isn't normally what you do. Normally you would have had your clutch and pressure plate and throw-out bearing and all that other fun stuff in there already. But I don't know with the modifications that we did whether the input shaft, for those that don't know, so this, we'll do a little lesson. We didn't do enough videos this week. Yeah, so this is not in though. Thought I had a spare bushing to show you. I don't. Oh, yes I do. Okay, so this is a pilot bushing. So this actually goes into the back of the crankshaft, or in this case, in a bushing that we put into the flywheel. And what it does is the transmission, the release bearing slides on that shaft, and that's on your clutch pedal. So when you push your clutch, it releases the clutch. The disc slides on the spline shaft, but this little snout right here at the front, it needs some support because it's got a lot of weight, a lot of stuff going on. So that bushing there, if you see the chamfered edge on it, that actually goes in this way, and that actually rides in the back of the crankshaft. So that actually spins because it's solid, and it goes in there and it spins, but that supports the front of the crankshaft. What was happening yesterday when we put everything mocked up together was that this bearing, you want to get basically up to there. You got a chamfer here. You want to get it up there or really close. I was like here, so it was basically barely supporting it. You need to get to it at least there, preferably in, but somewhat close. We were nowhere near close. So hopefully by moving the bell housing back and actually put the clutch pilot bearing a little bit by some of the measurements I did. So if I slide this in, if my measurements work, great. If not, well, that was pretty close. So we'll see how close I am. Of course, while showing you all that, I got gear oil all over the floor, so that's gonna smell nice. Well, you still got fluid in this thing still. Oh, I smell the gear oil. So here we go. Okay. I can tell you right now, you're way better than yesterday. That is in there. It looks like it's all the way in. These bolts are too long. I've got a shoulder on them. I've got a shoulder on them, and that shoulder is going to bottom out. Oh, Wes just sent me a message. Hey, Wes, thanks for tuning in, buddy. Wes says he can't get anything. He's got a lot of stuff to do on his own. Yes, he does. Well, you can you can send some of the stuff to me if you want, Wes. I know there's a couple there I wouldn't mind having. Thank you. All right, Nate's gonna grab a flashlight. Abu. Check it out. All right. So I want to have a look at that and see firsthand where she is. Now, normally you don't have to do this because it's sort of preset. Okay, so you can see I'm bottomed out, but I've got about, honestly, probably about a 1/16 of an inch to go in before it's all in. So that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is pull that back out. And again, I've got a little bit of adjustment that you normally wouldn't have with a pilot bearing, just because of the bushing and adapter that we made. So we kind of took that into account. Got my foot under here, so hopefully some support. It's always fun. Sorry for the view of my butt, everybody. Come on. Come on. Where's the wrench when you need it? There we go. Angle of the dangle. There we go. All right. So we're going to zip that bell off again. So I must say I'm significantly happier right now than I was yesterday at about 2 o'clock. Go to Facebook. You'll see my sadness was all encompassing. But if you want to use old parts, sometimes it's the stuff you run into. have my back to you when I'm talking to you, but do this one. Keep. All right, so. So I know I was looking for about a 16th. Oh, again, most of the time, this bearing is going to be seated or not. We have a bushing that we made because of the large diameter. I'll show you the original bearing that came off this baby, just comparison's sake. This is the bushing that comes out, or the bearing, I should say, the pilot bearing that comes out of the back of one of these 322s, compared to the current one. So what we had a bushing made so that would go in here, so we could run this in here. We could have just had a piece of oil light bronze made up, and then it would have been there. We did this route instead, so that if we ever have to change the bearing, you don't have to go on through and make another bushing to fit. Just pan the GM one when you replace the clutch, and you got a new pilot bearing, and away you go. Try to think ahead once in a while. Anyways, so I got a little bit of adjustment here. Touch more. Spot on. I like it. All right, that was fun. Sorry about that. I had a couple press finisher there. Bert, I missed you today, man. He says he's on his break so he can come down in the morning. Appreciate it. We got Paul's caddy to get done. We're taking this baby to Nebraska in a week apparently. And my buddy Paul McEwen, he stopped by today. We're doing some work on his caddy. That's over on our Facebook too, from way back when. So we got to finish that baby up. Front end's all done now. A few little details, and away we go. All right. Okay, so this is just boring. This is just standard stuff here. Basically, just need to get our pressure plate and flywheel put together. And double check the splines, make sure. We already did this, but you know, just to make sure. Yep, she's good. She's good. This is the throw-up bearing I was talking about, and put that pin together. And they're good. She goes in. Just do another double check. It's good too. You might say after yesterday I'm a little on edge, but keep an eye on things. Anyways, check, double check, triple check. Okay, so sorry, I'm just over here grabbing up, trying to find the lubricant for the bearing, shaft, slider, all that other fun stuff. Just want to make sure everything's lubed up. Don't want too much, just enough. Keep things lubricated and not squeaking, but not spraying all over your nice new clutch. It's lovely stuff. Spawning grease. Doesn't need much. Doesn't need much. Doesn't need to be spraying out all over the place. A little bit in the pilot shaft. All right. There's that. There's that. Generally, touch clutch disc. Springs on that side. Basically, you can see where it is. Normally, it's marked. Basically, usually the spring pack is facing the gearbox. Oh yeah, there it says right there, flywheel side. So against the engine. I've already wiped on. Some grinding going on in here today while I was making that plate, so. Put everything together, bolts, lock washers. All right, so I'm gonna get this started. So there is with these kits basically a what's called a dummy shaft, pilot shaft. It's basically a plastic version of the front end of the transmission snout. And what it does is it slides into that pilot bearing and through your clutch disc, and it basically acts as a shaft so you can get that lined up. That's your biggest part when you're trying to do one of these clutches, especially if it's in the car, is lining everything up. So where's mine, you ask? Well, yesterday when I started to do this, it was right here beside the clutch, but right this very second, I don't know what it is. So I at least get the bolt started, keep everybody entertained. I'm gonna go in there, make some noise and swear a little bit until I find out where I put it. Did I mention yesterday I was a little frazzled? Yeah, it would have been live streaming. It would have been great. It would have been really good for reviews. Might not have been PG rated though. So anyways, so there's another way you can do this. It's just not as accurate, which is basically you just center up with your fingers in between the clutch disc and where it is. But that's not fun, and it's really easy to pinch your fingers in when you start to tighten it up. So anyways. We all know it, right where I left it, right where it's supposed to be. Well, that's annoying. How real unscripted is this, eh? This is what kills your time. Stuff starts going everywhere. Huh. Well, that's annoying. All right. So here we are. All right. So this up is we're starting to win. So once I get this little thing figured out, I don't know where that pilot bearing or pilot shaft went. Should have 3 of them laying around here. What do we run? That's not too bad. I'm gonna go swear for a little bit. I'll get the transmission bolts and stuff. I'm gonna do a little bit of hunting and then we'll run around. So I'll be back in about I don't know, back in half an hour. All right. And it looks like Wes says we lost connection too. So we kicked the kids off the internet. They should be in bed anyways. It's 10:30. So all right, thanks guys. If you're bored, come back in half an hour.